Hi there and welcome to the latest episode of Craig Houston Talks, the podcast. And today I've come down to Ayrshire to talk about a pretty disturbing thing that happened in a nursery school recently down here, which basically was caused by not supplying two separate toilets for wee boys and wee girls, which is a bit of concern in what's actually happened. I'll let Taylor describe it, who's the child's mother, in some detail. So thanks for tuning in, and how are you?
I'm good. Good as can be. Obviously just really this going on. I've been kind of up to high with it, just keep my close eye on the vegan. She's doing alright. She is doing alright. There's a wee couple of changes in her, in the sense of kind of when she's getting changed and stuff like that. She's more keen to kind of get all covered up, and even when she's at the bath or the shower, she's wanting straight away her jammies on, and you can tell she's quite uncomfortable in that sense, even in front of myself.
Before we talk about what actually happened, see when you're bringing up a daughter and you're obviously teaching her about being safe and hiding her bits, is that what you were as a mum, teaching her, what is and isn't acceptable?
I mean, we've kind of, as parents, we have always stressed that what's under your clothes is private. Paisley, she's one for kind of, she'll tell anybody off. Anybody that she feels necessary, she'll tell them off and tell them about how private it is, and what's in your pants is private. So both my kids are they're well clued up on the importance of privacy.
So although they're young, they are taught that nobody should be there. You in your bathing room, and that's about
it.
Yeah. So do you want to tell those who don't know the story what happened? Was it a Monday last week?
It was.
Just talk us through what happened. You just took it to nursery and then dropped her off.
She was taken to nursery as normal, and we went to collect her at 3 o'clock, and we got pulled aside, and I joked. I says, "Oh, what has she done now?" and was kind of laughing about it, and I just saw the teacher's face kind of drop, and she had told us that basically Paisley was in the toilet, and a wee boy had intruded on her while she was in the cubicle and told her he was going to kiss her flower. And Paisley, being Paisley, told him off and said, "No, don't you dare, that's private." But of course he's kind of proceeded to do it anyway.
Seriously? I didn't realise how...
She told him off and told him not to because it's private, and he's went and he's done it anyway. Thankfully, us teaching our kids the importance of privacy, Paisley was confident enough to go and voice it to one of the adults within the centre, or, as we've been told, had she not, they would have been none the wiser that it had happened, just simply because the kids they're big on independence within that centre, so the kids are to be independent, going to the toilet by themselves. They have two sections of the nursery. They have their outdoor play area and their indoor toilets, kind of at both areas, and it's just kind of for all the kids, kind of mixed gender, go in whenever they please. So they haven't been kind of closely monitored at that point.
So they've got shared toilets, but they have two toilets, but one is for when they're outside and one's for their inside. But when the kids are needing the toilet, if they're inside, they're going to a mixed-use toilet. Now, why was there no staff in that area at the time?
I mean, that was my question. There was staff in the out area. There is members of staff. I mean, according to who I had spoken to in the centre, members of staff kind of dotted about everywhere just to keep an eye on the kids. But unfortunately, the toilets were in one of the areas. Whether they've been sidetracked, I have no idea. But at that point, the toilets had been manned. And I mean, I'm aware of a few parents who have kind of been complaining. I don't know if it's complaints being made to the nursery themselves, or if it's just been outside. They've been unhappy. Kids going home with like other kids' underwear when they...
Seriously?
They've been like swapping clothes, swapping underwear, been home with like other people's clothes, and you wouldn't believe. So they're just...
So maybe a bigger problem than just going to the bathroom then?
Well, I would say so. I mean, there's been kids that have been unwell and having to get kind of medicines and stuff like antibiotics to treat urine infections, because every time they went to the toilet they've just been totally harassed. The other kids are not getting any privacy, and it's putting them off using the toilet.
Yeah.
So it's
For those that are watching, maybe know in Scotland, nursery schools are pre-primary schools, that's under fives.
Yeah.
In this particular nursery school, what age do they take them in from?
They take them from 3. It is 3
3
to 5.
4-year-old.
It's usually kind of 3 to 5. So they'll have 2 years within the centre. They'll have their anti-preschool, and then they'll move on to preschool. But they all get the same. All the kids get the same treatment. Obviously, they get prepared differently for kind of the different years at nursery. They'll get prepared for going to school when they're a wee bit older and stuff. So they'll get different lessons and stuff, but they all get the same kind of equal treatment in the sense of kind of play and like kind of sensory and stimulation, what have you. So
I'm quite shocked, Taylor, because we've spoke a couple of times before coming down here today, and you know, there's no description in what actually happened. That you just sort of told me that there was something happened in the toilet with a flower, as you have put it. So I'm quite disturbed, because that could have been 100 things. That could have been somebody pointing, somebody doing whatever. Now that you've explained it, that's quite it's quite dark. So this has happened, what, about lunchtime?
Yeah, it happened. They told me it happened at 11:45. So we didn't get a phone call or anything to let us know that it had happened, when it had happened, or when they were made aware. They waited until they were at collection to kind of tell us face to face what had went on.
And how did that conversation go?
Oh, I mean, to be fair, kind of Paisley's dad, it was a kind of thing to hear for him, so he kind of sat through most part of the conversation and then he had to leave. But for myself, it's not something that happens often, but I was actually kind of speechless at the time. I had that much kind of going through my mind. I couldn't voice an awful lot. I tried to understand from both perspectives and think about any possible scenarios that could have caused a 4-year-old to think like that, or to understand any actions.
There's 2 kids involved here. Both might have things that they need help with.
Yeah.
But as a parent and you're looking after somebody who's, inverted commas, been a victim, I think the wee girl's got to be first and foremost in everybody's mind.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I can't actually fault the staff that we had spoken. I can't fault them at all, because they really did have a lot of kind of empathy and understanding of the situation, and they were just as shocked as kind of everybody else. And they did they reassured us that they were going to do everything that they could to make sure that there was going to be kind of something in place to ensure the safety of all the kids. And it was basically just kind of the resources that were given and the instructions that they had to follow, essentially. So I had contacted the education board by myself. As soon as I went home, I phoned them and I got somebody to phone me back. And at the time when we had first went into the nursery, they asked me what I wanted done, basically. And I had told them basically I wanted them split into boys and girls toilets, and either that or they would maybe in group and be monitored in a sense, so that there was as many kids going in at one time, and making sure, because I mean it would hygiene purposes as well, do you know what I mean? And they're so kind of washing their hands, etc. So I think the things that I had insinuated was would have been kind of good ideas, but we got no, basically.
See, that's where I'm struggling with this. I mean, having kids getting a wee bit more independence isn't a bad thing, and teaching them, you know, to be able to go to the toilet themselves, particularly before they go to school, where you know they've got to maybe fend for themselves a wee bit more. But even from a basic point of even having somebody standing at the door and no talking to them, but if they went to go straight out, say, well, have you washed your hands? You know what I mean?
That's kind of what they got in place at the minute. That is what they said they had in place.
But not this time.
But at the time, obviously, this happened, we didn't have that in place. But now, when it has happened, I think it's given them all a bit of a shock.
Wow.
So they have kind of got something in place now. But as I say, for me, that's still ensuring 100% kind of safety and privacy for the vegans, because there's 60 odd kids to however many adults. The ratio is kind of 1 to 8, so there's an adult per 8 children. So for me,
that's maybe 8 staff.
So I'm kind of like, it's still no ensuring kind of 100% that they're all going to be.
Yeah, you've been in and about the nursery. You'll obviously have a better idea of the layout than I have.
Yeah.
When you say there's one toilet area for the outside play and there's one toilet area for the inside play, are they close enough that if you were inside but you had to use inside toilet, it's manageable, or are they so far apart?
Well, I've never actually seen the indoor toilets near a hub. I've seen the outdoor toilets, but I've never seen the indoor. They've kind of roughly explained where they are, and I think it's quite small. It's not very big. It's not a very big centre. Kind of with the outdoor and the indoor.
So kids only walking for 10 minutes to the toilet.
No,
the worst case scenario.
They will be pretty close together, so it's not going to.
So they're trying to apply common sense and logic. Then is it completely unacceptable that one bathroom, whether it was outside or the inside one, could be used for boys and another one for wee girls? That's just ridiculous.
What I had been told was from the education board, they had reported back to the safety inspector, and it's basically them that would disagree on having that put in place, and they disagreed simply because they need one cubicle for 10 children.
Right.
And outdoors, they only have 2 cubicles. So the ratio kind of, it doesn't add up.
Because if you've got 60 kids, there's a chance there's 30 boys, 30 girls.
Yeah,
So if they go for a pee indoors, then there's plenty of cubicles. If they go for a pee outdoors, there's hardly any. That seems a bit daft as well.
So when I was saying that, that's when I had insinuated maybe gathering groups. So maybe, obviously, there's one adult to 8 children, maybe getting 8 boys to go at one time and having somebody keep an eye on them and making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, even standing outside. And
even standing in the doorway with the door open and you can see. Because even from a forgetting about what happened to Paisley, right? In normal circumstances, it would be uncommon for a child to go to the toilet and no want to or forget to wash their hands.
Yeah.
So if there's an adult there, maybe no need to talk to them if they can see them come out and go to the wash hand basin, then they go great. But if, just give them a wee reminder if they come to the door. Even from that point of view, forgetting the abuse side of it and the safeguarding side of it, you would think that would make common sense. But have you been in the toilet that's outside that you just know where it is?
I know where it is. I've kind of seen what it's like. I've seen the layout and things like that, and for me, they've got the cubicles there. They're not very tall, obviously, for kids. So they're kind of risen at the bottom, and they're not very tall. So basically, what's been happening is the kids are big enough to crawl under
and tall enough to look over.
And so when they're standing on top of the toilet or whatever, they're able to look over.
Yeah. So even from a safeguarding point of view, there's no really adequate privacy.
Well, no, I wouldn't say so. I get they've got to have something kind of in place that, if somebody to go along with their locks, you've got to be able to do it. So I do understand from that perspective, but at the same time, this is why, again, I would go back to having somebody kind of being there, because if you're standing outside, you could stand maybe metres back from even the door, and it's all open. There's a shutter, so the shutter's up and you can see straight in. So had somebody been watching, they would be able to see.
There's 2 kids in one cubicle. Is that what happened? Was it in the
cubicle? She was actually on the toilet.
And how did the wee boy get into the cubicle?
That I don't know. I had kind of tried to find that out, and I don't know if she has kind of put to lock the door or if it's rolled under. I honestly couldn't even be certain on that.
Even if the door was locked, it's not the hardest thing to get access to a cubicle. That's pretty scary, actually. Now, the thing that bothered me, and we spoke about it, was this building's a relatively modern building, isn't it? It's under 10 years old. So it's been designed and built to a certain specification. Has anybody gave you any reason or indication as to why they just didn't build the thing with female girls' toilets and boys?
Well, no, the only thing that's ever been said about it is just the whole independence side of things.
But you can have independence with kids going to the toilet, but having 2 toilets. Particularly, the outside one sounds as if it's a lot smaller than the inside.
For me, it would make common sense, especially with them going to school and it being separated into girls and boys. It would have made more sense for me to give them into girls and boys. It's really just So that's what they're always going to be used to. They're going to have any kind of drastic changes or anything when they're going to school. So, I mean, for me, it would have made a lot more sense. But I honestly don't know the logic.
But it defies logic to me. I mean, see if it was an older building and it was, built when, saying that had been built longer, it would have had a boys and a girls' toilet, I suppose. But the fact that in this day and age, somebody's designed a building for preschool.
I mean, the building it's been added on to an older building.
Right, so it's like a new extension, basically.
It's a new extension. The nursery used to be at the opposite end of the town.
Is that right?
So
is it attached to the school now?
It's attached to the school, so even above the nursery it's classrooms. So there's kind of access to the school for the nursery as well, like stairways and stuff. But it's all, everything in that nursery is brand new, basically. So it's all
purpose built.
Yeah.
Built. Yeah. So that's a bit that I just can't get into my head. I just can't see the logic in this day and age of designing something from scratch and saying, do you know what, it's a good idea that we have one toilet, because that's the sort of decisions you make. You say, right, how many rooms do we need? How many kitchens do we need? How many bathrooms do we need? Right? Yeah. How many offices do we need? That's what you would take into account when you're designing and doing this sort of project.
Yeah.
And for that answer to be within the last 10 years, do you know what, we'll just have one toilet. Now, if the outside toilet's small and it's got two, to hit the ratios that they need per kid per cubicle, the inside toilet's obviously quite a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound as if it would be difficult to have that two separate toilets. Now, the outside one possibly because of the size of it.
Yeah.
But it actually concerns me that we live in a society where that's not normal.
Well, I mean, it is worrying. Because, I mean, for all it would have been to have one extra cubicle at most, and it would have solved everything. Do you know? And I mean, I know it would be hard work. It's easy for kind of myself to sit and say, "Oh, I mean, it's just one cubicle." I know it would be a lot of work.
I know, but that should have been done when the thing was designed.
At the beginning, it should have.
Genuinely, I just cannot see the logic in somebody actually building a new thing and going, do you know what, we'll just have one toilet. Why would you do that?
I don't think there is actually any logic in it. And I mean, the only for kind of adults and things I've seen, there is two kind of toilets, but I can't actually think if there's been any kind of logos or anything on the door to even indicate whether it's for kind of male or female or.
Aye, previously they've done away with it.
Yeah.
So this horrific thing's happened. You've then went to pick your wee up for school. That's the only time you're told what happened to your child. You've had a bit of discussion, and the staff, by the sounds of it, were quite decent with you and empathy and stuff like that. Did you ask them why they hadn't told you earlier? Did they explain that to you?
Well, I did, but that was kind of one of my first questions, is why they waited. Because, I mean, I say to them, I know it's not a very nice thing to say. I says, and I hope I don't offend you, but imagine yourself in purses. The last thing you're going to want to do is go in and sit and hang out with the person that's just kind of done that to you. So, really, they could have kind of thought it from that perspective, but as I say, I think they were all just that much in shock. I don't actually think they were thinking at all. I think they were just kind of.
So you're talking about, it was about 3 hours before you were going to pick her up, is that right? And they didn't contact you, but what did they do with Paisley in those 3 hours?
Well, they said for the minute that she had made them aware of what had happened, they had somebody in the toilets. So there was a member of staff kind of outside the toilets. As I say, the second that she had told them.
Yeah. But what did they do? I'll just leave her in the class.
I just left her to make sure that she wasn't there. But they had kind of asked. Obviously, they had asked her what had happened, and she had kind of told them. And just as long as she wasn't upset, it was just a case of keeping an eye on her to make sure that she was all right until it was collection time. But I wasn't. That's kind of what I was unhappy about. I think they should have phoned us straight away.
Well, yeah.
To have us picking up and removing her face.
Yeah, or even take her into an office or something away, and I would have thought the protocol would have been to take her out of the situation, and then called you and then dealt with whatever way they seen fit from there. But who's to know? I don't know what the policies and procedures are and the protocols for these things. But that doesn't seem right either.
Yeah.
So then you've heard about this, you're trying to deal with it, you know, I would imagine trying to process it in your own mind, and then you go home. What happens next for you?
Well, when we had went home, that was when we started to. I mean, I didn't want the Wayne to feel like I was interrogating. So it was a case of just kind of dropping me questions here and there and hoping she would eventually open up, which she did, and told us exactly what had happened. And I asked what questions I had to ask, like, why was he there? Like, did they follow you? Did you have the door closed? Kind of, how did they get to that area? And then obviously how I'd figured out that she'd been sitting on the toilet pad. The nursery had told me that Paisley had told them that she wasn't comfortable in the outfit that she was wearing that day. So she had went to the toilet, and she said it was a play suit she had on, so it's the kind of, you know, like the wee school dresses you get, so it's these with kind of shorts attached. So she had to unzip and kind of strip off so she could get to the toilet. She's always got a kind of wee vest or something underneath, but I don't know, I felt as though they were maybe using that as a, or she's like, she kept kind of trying to strip off or whatever, which I wouldn't believe and understand why they even told me that, but I felt as though that was kind of maybe an attempt at some sort of justification.
No, that's not on.
So it's basically she's went to go in the toilet, and as she's been sat on the toilet, that's when it's happened.
Aye, I mean, horrific. And the detail that you've explained it to me, what happened, did the nursery explain that to you in the same detail, or are you hearing that from your daughter the first time you hear it?
Well, she's told me in the nursery pretty much the same story. So it was Paisley that had approached an adult within the centre,
right,
and told them straight away exactly what had happened, and of course they've asked again, kind of, right, okay, so for the start what happened, and she's told them again, and they then asked me to, when I got home, have a chat with her and find out what she's saying, that happened, and I'd fed back to them the next day, and then when I had got a phone call back for the education board, it was, all they kept saying to me was, oh, the incident that's allegedly happened, it's allegedly happened, you know, it was that, it was riling me.
Yeah, that's possibly not trying to upset you in that right, just
I
be the
don't
way
think
they
it was,
legally
I
need to
think
say
it
it.
was just the one they listening to anything. I felt as though because it was kids, they weren't taking it seriously.
And who's this, the school board?
Yeah.
Right.
They weren't taking it seriously kind of at all. They told me basically, this is what they're going to do, like it or love it.
This is what we're going to do. They're going to do. Which was what?
Which was have basically demanding the toilets. This is what we can do. We can't have the toilets split because there's not enough cubicles. We can't have any like children of that age. They can't be removed for education, which was never even insinuated. It was never even a thought. But I just pretty much tell them what they couldn't do, and no actually thinking about looking at the bigger picture of what they could do.
And then, was there any police involvement? Because how did they look and things like that?
Well, I mean, Paisley's dad had contacted the police. It wasn't even, I think, as I say, he was all over the place. For me, I personally wouldn't have contacted the police just simply because it is kids, and it's not going to be a police because of age. If they were a wee bit older, then it would be different. But so the police did come out and we had a chat with myself and explained the same thing. It would not be a police matter, but to them it sounded as though it was a social work matter. But nursery had already told us that they had contacted the social work department. So that's.
Listen, I'm not trying to justify the behaviour. I'm not trying to explain it. I don't know how it happened. But what I will say to you as a guy, I volunteer on a kids football club, and we've got 150 kids in it from 2 up to 16. And you don't know what happens behind closed doors. And I'm not suggesting there's anything happening behind closed doors. I'm just saying we don't know the other side of the story with that kid. And, you know, I'm not suggesting there'll be reasons for it. But that isn't, you know, my thing on this, my main thing is there's a wee girl that said something quite horrific happened to her in a situation, and I strongly believe that situation should just never.
No, it's not normal behaviour for a 4-year-old. I mean, I've always, as I say, always taught kids about privacy, but never would they and I know for a fact they would never even think about approaching somebody in that sense. And I do understand that sometimes kids can be so unpredictable. Curiosity get the better sometimes, and they'll do things or they'll act out in a way, and you just would never be able to prepare or expect it. So I did try and keep an open mind, kind of the situation that wee boy could be in. So, I mean, I think I actually surprised myself. Usually I would have been kind of all guns blazing, like, like that's my way. But this time, because of the kind of the seriousness of the incident, I did sit, take a step back and think about the bigger picture of what would be going on, and I was kind of cautious about this weekend's safety, and kind of thinking just more how did he know to do that?
That is a bit weird. I'll give you that. But again, it's just that your daughter shouldn't have been in that situation.
Absolutely not.
So the police have been involved through Paisley's dad. You obviously had some conversations with them, and you're happy with that. You're not looking for them to go and arrest anybody, right? But so what happens next? Before we talk about your daughter and the wee journey she's on just now, but what happens with the sort of the system at this point? Is that it finished with?
Well, honestly, I have no idea. I mean, I've made it clear that I want them to keep a close eye on Paisley when she's at nursery and make sure that they will be aware if she feels uncomfortable or if she's getting a bit upset, or if she doesn't want to kind of run about people. So they have agreed that they will contact me if any changes in Paisley kind of occur. Either behaviour or anything like that, then they will contact me, which they have. And we never really used to see them at all, but when Paisley had went back, they had got a wee phone call to let us know like she was feeling a bit tired, and but she was doing okay, and she seemed to be kind of just enjoying herself at nursery. She wasn't out of sorts at all. So I did appreciate that, but as I say, I have made it clear that they need to watch her, because if she does, I would much prefer to move her through the situation and remove her from the environment if she was feeling uncomfortable about it. Just to know that there is going to be somebody there behind her.
Aye. No, and we've spoke about it before we hit the record button over the phone and stuff. She did not go in for a wee bit after the incident.
Well, this happened on the Monday, and I kept the full week. I didn't send her back at all. Just mainly because of what they were saying. I felt I didn't know if I was actually comfortable or happy with say kind of the chats that they had all had amongst themselves and they had put in place. So I just kept her off for the full week, and it was so I could really let the kids settle into these new rules and make sure that before she went back, we're all going to be abiding by it, and they were all going to be, everything was going to be better in a better system, really, before she did go back, so that she wasn't going to be going straight into the same environment and feeling uncomfortable on me.
And was she wanting to go back to nursery, or did she have any input into that decision?
I mean, I think she was a wee bit, because she had time off, she was a wee bit at first, like, oh, I don't want to go, but that could just be a typical, just feel like misses some. So, I mean, I couldn't get that it was because of that incident.
Yeah.
But she did say a couple of times she didn't want to go to nursery. But she did, and she's been getting older. She has been getting older.
Now she's back in.
She is in, and she's settled. I mean, we've no heard anything. I have been asking, making sure that she's alright.
Yeah. That's good that I contact you now. But I've been thinking about it a lot since we first spoke, and thinking about both the kids, right? And I'm like, would I know to do that? Would I know what that was it for? My honest answer is I don't know, for the simple fact I was born in 73, and my earliest memories were, oddly enough, the 1978 World Cup.
Right, okay.
And I've got vague memories of it. So that means the oldest vague memories I can think of, I was 5, and I can't remember much other than all these guys, all the dads in the street were on the one living room, and all the ones were sitting on the floor because we had the biggest telly in the street. We're all on ours. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know if with a folk, and it's different times now, God, obviously, as well, but I just don't know what a 4-year-old kid would know to do that. But thankfully, when I was considering that, I thought, well, it'll maybe help her, because if she gets a bit older, she might not have any memory of it. The
Yeah.
only thing I'm not sure about, because I'm not a psychologist, obviously, is because it was such a big event.
Yeah.
For all your wee events in your life or wee up and downs like that, and then suddenly you get a big massive event, will that stick in the memory more? But from when I came in here and you were on the phone, there's things getting put in place, hopefully, to help.
Yeah, I was actually speaking to a child psychologist that has actually been arranged. It was the nursery who contacted them. It's somebody that's actually within the centre. So they gave me a wee phone call just to kind of check in and pretty much just asking how she's getting on, if she's showing any kind of signs that are out of the ordinary, if she's behaving any sorts of way. And I just obviously explained to her that it's new, so when she's kind of getting changed, when she's coming out the shower, or when she's going to bed, she's not wanting to go to bed at night. We just managed to get her settled into her own room, sleeping in her own bed.
Seriously? So what you're saying is your own child in the home, the safety surrounding your own home, and you're coming out the baths and things like that, you're seeing different.
When we used to joke and call her Mowgli because she had the crazy hair, and she would walk about, she'd cut about her nappy or her pants and her wee vest, and that's just how she was comfortable at home. That's how she always was. So we used to joke and call her Mowgli, but no, it's just total opposite. It used to be a case of when she was indoor, straight away it was the shoes kicked off, socks are off, and stripped right down to the pants and the vest, and she would up wear a wee blanket and chill out before dinner. And now it's just total opposite. She's just
wants to be. That's just as quick as that. That's obviously got to have been.
I mean, I don't know if it's been this situation or if it's maybe been partly me, because I've been again stressing constantly and even more before, kind of on the whole privacy side of things. So I mean, it could well be that as well.
Possibly. If you've amplified the message you're giving her, that's maybe. It could be either.
He's just going to be friendly too after the summer. But we got a thing sent out about this whole. They're going to be talking about the parts, and what we understand, it's a man that's going to be stood in front of the classroom, pointing to kind of hear me and everywhere. And he's 5. Do you know what I mean? He's just coming 6. For me, I feel like that's a bit too young. Maybe for the privacy side of things, but again, I don't think they're getting split up either. So,
for bathrooms?
No, for bathrooms would be split up. But I mean, for like these topics and stuff like that, it's going to be for like male and female body parts. They're going to be discussing. I mean, some of the keywords were just. I mean, there was.
You can opt out of that.
Well, I had considered it. I had considered opting out, but at the same time, now I'm kind of thinking, is it a good idea?
I think there's pros and cons to that, as in most things.
I would maybe like to put in place that if he's having these lessons, that maybe it would be a good idea to separate them. Maybe having the girls and the boys having chats with different people, kind of different teachers or at different times. Because I get curiosity is going to come in.
Yeah. No, I remember, see, you on that. I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 years ago. It must actually have been longer. John Swinney was the education secretary at the time, and he was doing this talk. And I don't know what the talk was about, right? But it was like an old school hall, if you imagine, with a stage, and he was up there giving some talk on something, and this guy challenged him. Now, the guy that challenged him was a guy called Richard Lucas, who I didn't know at the time. I know him now. I spoke to him and met him on a few occasions over the last, probably about March. But at the time, I thought Richard Lucas was a crackpot, because he stood up in this place, and I don't know what the meeting was for. I've only seen this small clip on social media, and he was talking to John Swinney and making allegations about what we were teaching kids in school, which was part of the curriculum, right? And I'm like, that can't be what we're teaching primary school kids. Yeah. And I thought the guy was a crackpot suggesting it. It turns out he was right. And because at that point, my kids, both had left school. Maybe my son was still at university at the time. But they were out of that situation, so it wasn't a big thing. I'm just watching this guy thinking, no, you're daft. You actually believe they're teaching kids that in school? Yeah. But when I found out it was true, it was absolutely frightening. And I don't understand. I mean, I'm obviously a bit older than you, so I feel a bit of a dinosaur with a lot of things in today's society. But I just can't understand. You know, when we were kids, I think it was second year before you had science section 6, which it was, and I'll never forget, because we all went, oh, it's section 6, right? And it was when he spoke to you about how babies were made. So we would have been about 14 at the time. And I think we're all right. We dealt with that all right. And, you know, we're all get families, and some of us get grandkids at my age now, you know, so it wasn't a problem. You know, we were able to understand how babies were made. So I don't know why we need to have those conversations with kids at 6-year-old now, and 7 and 8-year-old. And then you get more serious when you go to high school. Because the system didn't seem to be broken when I was at school. It was fine. But that's the way we're going. And that concerns me, and I think that's what's led into this communal toilets and stuff. And I think, and I say this often as well, Taylor, I'm maybe described as a dinosaur and misogynistic, right? But I strongly believe that the old-fashioned thing, women and children first, right? And if folk go, women are able to look after themselves, well, I kind of get that as well. But that doesn't stop me having an urge to make sure they're all right. So when you hear stories of a wee 4-year-old girl who's not safe, that situation that she was put in could never be described as safe. It concerns me. And we, again, looking at my own position, when I was in school, in primary school, in nursery, boys and girls toilets. And we were never in a situation to share a toilet or a toilet area with a wee girl. But yet, 45 years later, kids are now, we've went backwards with that safety. I was more safe in my school days than your child is today at 4-year-old. That isn't right.
Absolutely not. I think a lot of things in the world changed in that time, in the sense of I mean, I feel like people are getting younger and younger and having a bit of an identity crisis. I feel like, and there is a lot of people who are maybe being born and unhappy with who they are, and maybe feel like they would like to be somebody different, and they would be more comfortable. So they understand they've got to accommodate these people, and they've got to make sure that they're also comfortable and that they're also feeling safe in the environment that they're in. So this whole the gender neutral toilets, like the various toilets and stuff like that, do you know, it's I do understand from that perspective.
But what we've got to be careful in society is if that's why it's been done, we're talking about less than half of 1% of the population. And if less than half of less than half of 1% of the population have got needs where they feel I'd be happier in a non-sex toilet, then that's, I understand that. But if sorting that problem out has got a detrimental effect to the majority of people and their safety, then surely that we need to have a talk about that. That's not something that we can just... I'll give an example. When I was your age, gay people couldn't get married. Gay people couldn't adopt. Gay people didn't have rights. You know, if you have a partner for 2 or 3 years, you then have rights if you put money into the house and all that, carry on common law. You know, you're common law married. You're married to, in every aspect and got a ring in your finger. Well, homosexuals didn't have those rights. So when that became a problem, and the minority, which was the LGBT community, said, look, can we get the same as yours? Well, society looks at it and thinks, well, that's kind of daft. How did we end up here in the first place? Did that harm anybody else by giving them the rights and sorting out their problem? No, it didn't. Right? So that's an easy thing. But when we've got the minority saying, well, we want this and we want that, and it is going to affect the safety of a 4-year-old, I can't accept that.
No.
And I think that's where we are. And that's the only... I can't think of another single reason that we've put your daughter into a toilet with a wee boy. Other than somebody somewhere's went, it's nice and cuddly and left and woke and all that carry on, that we have non-identity toilets. Well, in reality, how many kids are non-identity? The kids, when I was your daughter's age, start, maybe a wee bit older actually, start having things about thinking about their body and, were they happy as men or happy as women, all that carry on. But, so that's not a new thing. So we've changed and we've went, no, we'll accommodate for that. Now, if you can accommodate for these people with these thoughts and concerns without jeopardising anybody else's privacy, safety, then you would probably go, that makes sense. But your daughter is a great example of what I've been saying for a long time.
I think, do you know what, I think it's a case of, I mean, as you say, like the LGBT community, they now they're a lot more heard, they've got a lot more power than what they once. So I think in a lot of cases, a lot of kind of people, maybe even like the education board or the kind of safety inspectors, what have you, I think it's a lot to them when they would cover in their own backs in the sense of no offending anybody, where I think they should be looking a lot more into the safety things rather than what's going to come back on them. I mean, again, I'm not at all against any of that kind of side of things. I'm not against the LGBT community. I'm not against any of that. But I mean, I think it can be respectful in that sense. If there's going to be incidents like this happening, especially in kids that age, I think it should be a case of they're having girls and boys toilets 100%. Maybe even if there was an extra toilet somewhere, even with 2 cubicles, maybe if there was somebody that, even at that age, was kind of a bit unsure, there was somewhere for them to go.
The reality is, though, I don't think anybody that's preschool would even have those thoughts. So you're actually
stranger things have happened.
Well, true. I suppose it could be. You know, I would be more concerned about the parents if somebody 3-year-old says, "I think I should be." Now, don't get me wrong. I might have said at one point because I had a big sister. So there's probably times where I've had my Action Man and she said her Barbie and we've been doing things together and I've played with Barbie for a wee while and went, I want to be a girl and put on my mom's shoes. That might happen. I don't know because I don't have memories for them. But that doesn't mean I'm transgender. That doesn't mean I believe I'm in my wrong body. That just means I'm a wee guy that probably done what 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 2 or I don't know, every wee boy done at one point. So that doesn't mean I'm transgender and suddenly we need to have shared toilets and rainbow flags all over the place. That doesn't mean that at all. And another example, a real life example of minority versus majority. I had a wee guy came to me. Our football team's, kids from all different backgrounds. And this wee guy, lovely wee boy, Mohammed, came to me. Been with us for a few years. They're training. And I was the coach of them. I was just wondering about. He's like, Craig, what time is it? And I was like, 7:05. How are you going away? Are you unpicking you up or something at a certain time? He went, no. Can you tell me when it's 7:23? And I'm like, that's pretty exact. Why didn't he tell you when it's 7:23, Mohammed? Why am I not telling you when it's 20 past or 25 past? He says, that's when the sun goes down and I can take a drink. What are you talking about? It was Ramadan.
Oh.
Right, okay. And you're going, well, hold on a minute. That's a kid that's, in a minority, even in our setting. And I was like, how can we help him? What can we do to make it easier for him? So, you can look at maybe if there's the other teams maybe training after him, maybe put him into that session. So there's things that you can do. But see, in that setting, what you wouldn't do is, you wouldn't just say, do you know what, we'll cancel training tonight for everybody because Mohammed can't drink water. You with me? So we have accommodated his needs as a minority without affecting the majority. And that's where I am with a lot of things. I mean, we have kids that have got issues with autism that we need to deal with. But what we can do is we can put things in place, but we can't put things in place that's a detriment to everybody else. Because that's not how society works. And that's how society works across the board on almost every other thing apart from this transgender issue. And I cannot think of any other reason why your daughter is in an environment where she has to change or share toilets with wee boys, and which has led to quite a horrific thing happening to her.
I mean, looking at it for that perspective, it's kind of opened my eyes more that is completely wrong. I've just been kind of trying to sugarcoat it in a sense so that I'm no, because I was driving myself mad with it. I was driving myself crazy. But I've got to a point where my main focus is that she's alright. Kind of asking her every day she's coming home. What's happened today? If she's been alright, and making sure that we're in the centre, she's going to be completely separate from this other child.
Yeah. She's got another year in the environment, hasn't she?
Yeah.
When you think about that, it's 25% of that wee girl's life.
Yeah.
It's a year's massive to her. But you know, she's got to feel safe. So thanks for letting me come and talk to you, Taylor. I'm not saying I have enjoyed meeting you. It's not been a pleasant thing to talk about.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that and thankful that you allowed me to do it, and it can be easy for you to sit there with these things in front of you and talk about it. So well done there. But before we finish up, is there anything that we've not spoke about, or anything that you want to say that we've not maybe covered yet?
I think so. I think we've covered it all. All the important parts, and I do just hope that there's going to be other people that can help me understand it. Just how wrong it really is, and there's going to be somebody somewhere that will see it and want to make a change.
Yeah, I think we need to stop the madness.
Aye.
And it's horrific to me that it's gone as far as a horrific situation for a 4-year-old girl. Do you know what I mean? That just blows my head from where I'm looking at it, trying to safeguard people and whatever. And you know, I'll get called transphobic for some of the things that I said during this recording, but I think you can't trump that with a wee kid's safety. But I hope that, you know, with what you've done, if that building can't be knocked down and built again, I think that's pretty impractical. But if they can put safeguards in place that you know, make it better and safer, and hopefully somebody higher up the line decides when they're building the next nursery, they just put 2 toilets in it.
Aye, absolutely. I hope so. And I mean, I kind of hope that they are going to take a wee look, and I really hope that nothing like this ever has to happen to anybody else, within that centre or any other centre for that matter. But I hope that they do have a look and want to make a change. One extra cubicle for what it is. So, and it could be doable. It could be. They've just got to want to do it.
Yeah. Well, look, thanks again for inviting me down, Taylor, and just best of luck with your journey. But most important thing is that I hope that, you know, it is not something that spikes a memory and it causes her issues going forward. And I think it sounds as if you're getting all the support that she maybe needs if that was the case. That, you know, by the time she's 12, she's never, you know, her life's the way it should be, whether this happened or not to her, and it doesn't affect her.
Hope so.
Well, it certainly sounds that way, and good luck to her. So thanks very much. So.
Thank you.
So folks, if you, I think it's an odd word to say, but if you enjoyed the video, maybe that's the wrong word, maybe if you got anything out of the video, you learnt something from it, if it's touched you emotionally, then hit the thumbs up and show it to your friends. And as I say, it's normal, unless you're some of these crackpots that decide that putting kids into toilets unattended, putting them into toilets that are not single sex, and putting them into situations where they are in danger. As long as you're not any of these people, see everybody else, have a great day. Cheery bye now.